Do Your Job Wrestling Hour with your host, the ConKaiserdor and old school Avis Hathaway. Pin me, pay me. Do your job. Pin me, pay me. Do your job. Pin me, pay me.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour. I am the ConKaiserdor, and alongside me is old school Avis Hathaway. We have a tremendous show for you this evening. I know every week I give you the same news, but it's true. It's damn true. We have a great show tonight. We will be joined by Micro Championship Wrestling's the tiniest terror, Blixx. It's going to be a great show tonight. You definitely don't want to miss it. In just a little bit here, Blixx will be on the show, so it's going to be amazing. Old school Avis Hathaway, Bud, what's going on tonight?
Oh, just another day. We've had a little hiatus, a couple weeks off, with the holidays and whatnot, but we're ready to get going with a great show tonight. Like you said, we got Blixx from Micro Championship Wrestling tonight. Should be a great show.
Absolutely, Bud. Absolutely. With the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour, you can always count on the most original guests and the most entertaining. We really try to go above and beyond and please our listeners, and, that's what we do, guy. We do our job usually every Sunday night. So, old school, man, you want to kick it off with some of the latest news here, Bud?
Well, we've been off for a few weeks, so we're a little behind the curve, but I think first off, the first thing we got to talk about is CM Punk and what's been going on with him. He's been, obviously, has been reported, the reports are that he's leaving, the company, and they've turned that into a storyline, and, his work shoot from a few weeks ago and on to today have been some of the best work and most intriguing things in WWE in a while, and, it leaves a lot of people to wonder what's going to happen. I don't think there's any worry about him actually beating John Cena with the stipulation that was given last week where if Cena loses, then he's fired. But, it's intriguing, and it leads me to wonder whether or not he has, in fact, re-signed, because would Vince McMahon be investing this much in him if he hadn't re-signed and he was walking away?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I did mention a little bit of that on our Facebook, which, in case you're wondering, is facebook.com/the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour. Mentioned that on Facebook there with the whole CM Punk thing. And, many people were really drawn in and thought it was real, which that's great. That means that, Vince, CM Punk, the writers, they really did a great job at building interest in this storyline because, of course, to allow CM Punk to say some of the things he said without re-signing him, I don't know if they would have done that. What do you think?
I don't think they would have. The only question I have now is they had a show in Australia recently where CM Punk called a fan a homo, and it got caught on tape. And, that caused some flack, and they released a statement basically to the effect that, he's no longer going to, be part of our company, and he's leaving, and, they're independent contractors, and kind of, swept it under the rug. But it kind of leaves one to wonder, because if he had re-signed, would they have kind of, almost tried to distance themselves so much from him? But that said, I think that he has I'd be surprised if he hasn't. I think he's going to go away for a while either way. Even if he has re-signed, I would imagine part of the deal was he gets to take some time off because, it wouldn't really make sense if he's back on Raw the next night. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying there. And, I think that CM Punk's going to stay with WWE. I thought the promo was really done superbly well. He really, it was like a work shoot. He hit on some great points that are true and really drew a lot of interest into this whole Cena, CM Punk, Vince McMahon storyline. And if you caught the past Raw show, now if CM Punk wins, John Cena is fired.
Yeah. That, like I said, I touched on that before. That I don't think he's going to be He's going to be fired. I don't think there's really any worry of that. One of my thoughts, and I think a lot of people's thoughts, was that Punk could very well go over Cena, and then it's Money in the Bank, so the Money in the Bank winner comes and, basically, takes the belt right then and there. But I wonder how that would work in terms of Cena. You know what I mean? Does Cena get fired then? How do they play that off?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work out.
Well, I think that stipulation kind of threw a little bit of water on the fire, so to speak, because, people were wondering, well, maybe now CM Punk wins, but I really don't think that anybody thinks that John Cena's going to get fired,
Why not, guy? Why won't they fire Cena?
I think that would be the biggest swerve WWE could do, and I don't think it would be a bad thing. You know what I mean?
At least in a storyline sense.
Exactly.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens, bud. You are listening to the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour. If you're listening live to the show, thank you so much for joining us this evening. You can call into the show at 714-694-4101. In just a little bit here, we'll be joined by Micro Championship Wrestling's tiniest terror, Blixx. So don't go anywhere. You're in for a great show tonight there. Old school, man, some other news going on that I wanted to share. If you caught the past Raw show, like I said before, you saw one Zack Ryder, the Long Island IZ, come out during the McGillicuddy Otunga match and kind of locked eyes with him, kind of signaling there could be a potential Zack Ryder faction.
I can only hope. I mean, I think that would be amazing. Because I think the fans have been, I mean, you look at Raw any given week, and there's how many Zack Ryder signs. You know what I mean? They're everywhere. And, yeah, a lot of people can write it off, it's just the Internet fans, the smart mark, so to speak. But regardless, the guy has found something to get himself over. And you've got to pay attention to that. You can't just sweep that under the rug. And I think this would be a great way to get him some exposure as as in part of a faction, kind of some of these guys that with the departure of CM Punk or the storyline departure, the Nexus really doesn't have anything to do. I don't think you should keep calling it the Nexus. I think that it should be something new entirely, but you could form some sort of new faction and get Zack Ryder on TV. I mean, it can't hurt anything to give this guy a shot.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I mean, he's way over on the Internet, and if you think about it, outside of the Nexus and the whole core thing, which kind of has dwindled really to just two guys now, it seems, they don't really have any real factions right now.
No, they really don't. I mean, the Nexus was hot for a while, and then it disappeared. The core kind of really never got off the ground. It was just an offshoot of the Nexus, and it didn't really do anything. And I mean, you've had what in the past? You've had Legacy not too long ago, but they didn't really last that long. So I mean, I think it's time. I mean, I know you're a big fan. I was a big fan of factions and stables. The Job Squad, the Right to Censor. I loved. Teams like that. So I'd love to see something put together. Even put Zack Ryder with like Santino and Kozlov in almost like a comedy role. That's fine with me. Just get the guy on TV and give him a shot. See what he can do.
I agree. Moving on from that news to more somber news, we did want to report that a indie Florida wrestler by the name of Justin Honeycutt, was also known as Rise, passed away at the age of 30 years old in a freak accident. He actually was a worker on the Midway rides at a little amusement park in Orlando, and apparently he had fell off while working on the ride.
Yeah, I mean, anytime anybody passes away, it's never good news, but especially somebody so young in such a tragic way. I mean, it always puts things into perspective, and, our sincerest condolences go out to, his family, anybody that knew him, and, anybody that he entertained over the years, because, I mean, that's what this business is about. It puts a mark on people to entertain them, and it's a sad thing.
Yep, absolutely, man. Getting into other news with TNA, I don't if you've been following the most recent Impact Wrestling shows on Thursday night. you would see that they are bringing back the X Division in full throttle here, which is a good thing. I mean, it's been kind of MIA for a little while. They haven't put much behind it, and they've been bringing in a lot of guys from the indie scene, big names, guys like Loki, who's worked with TNA before, as well as Austin Aries, who's also worked with TNA before, Jack Evans, and some other guys there. So, you know, TNA is really trying to bring on some new talent. Not too sure where they're going with some of these guys that aren't winning the match, but we'll certainly see what happens there. But, you know, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick break here. But when we come back, we're going to have Micro Championship Wrestling's Blixx on the show. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back on the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour. Let's welcome to the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour from Micro Championship Wrestling, the tiniest terror of them all, Blixx. What's going on here tonight, man?
Not too much. Just got done eating dinner, got my belly full, time to relax, watching some baseball on the TV.
Hey, must be nice. I don't eat till after 10 o'clock, so at least you got fed, and now you're ready to do the show. Awesome, man. It's great to have you on tonight.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you know, you're definitely one of the most prominent members of Micro Championship Wrestling, and, you know, definitely a really cool promotion as, you know, it seems to be kind of back behind Hulk Hogan as well, seems to have some involvement with MCW there. Can you kind of give us a little bit of a background of how MCW kind of came about?
Well, yeah, it's actually a group of guys that got together around about, let's say, 12 years ago, and I think one of our guys, Meatball, is the actually only remaining original member, and the rest of us just kind of fell into the show by the shows coming to our town and showing up and talking to the owner and going, hey, I want to try this out, and we all come together, and then Johnny put together MCW and was like, look, you're the best of the best. I want you in my show, and the rest is history now.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're able to get involved with that. Because I know prior to that, you had done some work with the Micro Wrestling Federation, where you kind of, you know, you really held the belt there several times. Was that your first start in the business, or did you work somewhere else prior to that?
No, I actually got my start when I was 15 years old for a little independent fed just south of Charlotte, North Carolina, writing wrestling scripts, and then I kind of got into the whole I want to be a part of the show type of thing, and found another federation that put me in as a manager. And when I was 19 years old, I found the Micro Wrestling Federation on the internet and shot the owner at the time an email, and he said, you buy a plane ticket and come out, I'll give you a shot, and I've been a part of the group ever since.
That's awesome, man. Very, very cool. You know, when you first became a part of Micro Championship Wrestling, I mean, there's a lot of talent on that roster. I know that they're trying to eventually get a pilot, which from what I've been reading on True TV. Can you share with our listeners when that's going to come about, when they can catch it on television?
Yeah, we just finished principal photography with it. We did the last little bit of it just a couple of weeks ago. They're saying right now the network's set to put it out the first week in August. So hopefully the commercials will be airing in the next week or two, and we'll actually get our slot in unless they push it back one more time, but I don't see that happening.
Very cool, very cool. Look, this is Avis here. Can you talk a little bit about how your background in wrestling, I mean, you kind of said how you found your way into MCW, but, you know, how you came up in the wrestling business, you know, where you were trained, that sort of thing?
Well, I was in high school at the time, and one of my buddies, his older brother, went into wrestling training. And the funny thing is, he was going to wrestling school and coming home and teaching me and his brother what he had learned, and we actually learned how to take bumps and arm drags and all the basic stuff in wrestling on living room floors. Then when I went to the second company where I was actually a manager, they would open the doors to the building 2-3 times a week, and me and a couple of guys would go up there and just have free ring time and just, hey, let's try this, let's try that. And along the way with the owners that I've met up with and our trainer in MCW, Pat Tanaka, I'm constantly training. I'm constantly learning. That's one of the things I've always said. When I stop learning, I'm going to quit the business. So I don't think I'm done training, but I also am still having fun, and apparently I'm good enough to wear a title. So I'm happy to be where I'm at, that's for sure.
Well, sure, yeah, you have obviously achieved quite a bit. Did you grow up a big wrestling fan? Like when you were a kid, like I know, I believe, if you correct me if I'm wrong, you're from Spartanburg, and I know that was a big, hot wrestling area back in the day with the NWA and, Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and all that stuff. So did you grow up like a big wrestling fan?
Oh, yeah, I grew up a huge wrestling fan. It wasn't until I was about like 9 or 10 years old I kind of faded away from it for a couple of years, and I was flipping through the channels one night, and of all things, the NWO caught my eye, and the passion just came right back. So once I was of age, I was ready to roll with the company, any company actually. Just being a part of the business is what I wanted to do, and I've never really held another job. This has been my job, and my job's fun, so I'm going to keep it.
Very cool, very cool. Now, you've worked, obviously, with Micro Championship Wrestling, as we talked about, and you know, a couple other promotions as well. Is there anywhere that you have your eyes set on to the future that you want to work, or is it just kind of you take it one day at a time and go from there?
Well, actually, me and one of the guys that works at MCW, also Justice, we've been in the business for a long time. I've been in the business for going on 14 years now. He's been in the business all his life, and we're just like, look, we've been bounced around from here and there. MCW's it. Johnny's got the backing of Hulk Hogan. All he's got to do is see our show, and he's going to help promote it. So if MCW doesn't blow up, that's it. We're going to ride this train to the top, or we're just going to crumble and just go ahead and say that's enough.
Yeah, you mentioned, coming in and working with Justice, and I know in one of your matches with him, he had stapled a $100 bill to your face. How did that match come about, and what exactly did that feel like?
Well, actually, it was one of those things. I was kind of a daredevil type. I'd jump off of ladders and go through tables and stuff. And he was like, well, I've used a staple gun before. And I'm like, I'm not taking that, ever. He said, I'll sit on you and force you to take it. And I said, all right, you do that, and I'm going to pull out some barbed wire, and you're going through that. He said, all right, it's a deal. Very next match, he comes out, and he gets me down, and he sat on me, and he stapled me, and it hurt for a minute, but the adrenaline's pumping, and you're thinking about what's going on next. So the pain went away pretty quick. Don't really hurt, just 2 little holes in your face that heal up really quickly. The most painful part about it is pulling the staple back out.
No, I can imagine. It was definitely a pretty amusing match, man. And the one thing I think that you have over a lot of other guys in MCW and also in some of the other promotions that you've been in is the fans just despise you. I mean, you talk so much shit to the fans, and they will yell obscenities and all kinds of things at you. And what is it like drawing that kind of heat?
Well, it actually makes me smile that I can actually do that. If I can draw the attention of an entire crowd, I'm doing my job right. And my mom always said growing up, find something you're good at and stick with it. I'm good at being mean and running my mouth. That's why I'm a heel.
Now, I got a question for you, Blixx, from Y2 Jibber Jabber, one of our fans in the chat room. And I got to preface the question here because I don't know kind of how you prefer to be referred to. First off, what's the proper terminology that you prefer? Because I know some people prefer little person, dwarf. Well,
I got over that before I ever heard the term little person or dwarf, because when I was diagnosed with dwarfism, I was 5 years old. I just crushed 8 fingers in a toy box, and the doctor noticed it on the x-rays, and he told my mother, point blank, your son's a midget. That term never bothered me, not one bit.
Okay, great. I just, like I said, because I wanted to make sure that we were, politically correct. We didn't want to offend anybody. The question from the chat room is, from Y2 Jibber Jabber, he says, a lot of midget wrestlers are usually played for comedy in the, quote, bigger federations, the WWE and even WCW, that sort of thing. How do you feel about it? Because obviously you're a legitimate wrestler. Anybody who's seen your matches or watched anything on YouTube, you're obviously a very good worker. How do you feel that you guys get played kind of in a comedy role in the larger feds?
Well, I actually despise it, and that's one of the reasons that I turned down a chance to go work for the WWE twice, was because that's what they were going to do, and I knew that was what they were going to do. And they offered me $500 to come in. I was going to be gone for 3 days, and I point blank told them no, because I'm not going to go out there and be a comedian. I'm not a comedian. I'm a wrestler for less money over a 3-day period than I make with MCW. Sorry. I don't care about publicity. If I can't publicize myself, I'm not going to let somebody actually make fun of me just so I can get my name out there.
That's very respectable, very respectable, like I said.
Yeah, it definitely is. And also, you know, the one thing I was also thinking is, you know, with Hulk Hogan's ties to TNA, has there ever been any talk of bringing you guys in to do a little run in TNA?
Well, there's been little whispers here and there being around Hogan and actually being around Eric Bischoff as well. There's been little whispers and, hey, we might be able to do this. But the way TNA's run, they got so many good storylines just about every single week. In my opinion, they're better than the WWE. That's just my personal opinion. And they've got such a good show. Why are they going to throw us in there and hope we can draw as well as the guys that they've already got?
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense also, you know. I know with TNA they have a lot of guys who sometimes don't even get much TV time, so I do understand. That kind of makes sense. I know on True TV you guys kind of did this little, you guys just kind of showed up on the show Rehab. Can you talk a little bit about that, how that came about there?
Yeah, it was actually, we got invited to come out and just make our presence known because we had talked about working with a couple of casinos out there, and the guy that was the executive producer for that episode said, y'all come on out and film this, show up in character and blow everybody's mind. So we went out there. We had so much fun, too. It was great. They took care of us really, really good out there.
Now going back for a sec, ConKaiserdor kind of brought up Hulk Hogan's name. For anybody that doesn't know, what exactly is his involvement with Micro Championship Wrestling?
Well, he's basically one of our, what would you call it, the committee guys, so to speak. He's there to let us know what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right, and he's also involved with Johnny on creative decisions, like should we turn this guy into a good guy, who deserves the belt, where should we go with this line, and everything else. That's pretty much what his job is. With
Micro Championship Wrestling, I know it tours around the country a lot. About how many dates a year is that? Because I know, like, if I'm not mistaken, it does a lot. I'm based out of Florida, but you guys travel a lot. Like, how many dates a year would you say that the promotion runs? We usually do, at a minimum, about 115 shows to a year, and a couple of years back, like when we were first getting started with this group of guys, we actually did 237 shows. Wow.
Yeah, wow, that's definitely a lot of shows, man. When you were kind of growing up and, you know, following wrestling, you know, who were some of your biggest influences?
Well, Sting was one of them, and then got into the teenage years of my life, and Raven really caught my eye on how dark and mysterious he was and how he really had nothing nice to say to anybody or about anybody. And then The Undertaker, The Look, obviously, and I tried to incorporate all three of them into my character, like it's just this whole mesh of all three of them, the dark side and from The Undertaker and the charisma of Sting and the meanness and evil side of Raven, and it seems to be working pretty good.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a pretty cool character. It kind of looks a little bit on, like, you know, on the goth side, and you know, definitely pretty cool. And that's kind of why I was asking, because it kind of seemed like you pulled some different ideas from some guys you may have been influenced, you know, growing up watching wrestling, things of that nature. There, is there anyone out there you think you'd really want to have a match with?
Well, honestly, I would want to have another match with the original owner of the MWF, the first midget company I worked in. I had so much fun working for him, and he was so easy to work with in the ring. If I actually got a chance to wrestle him again, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, they seem like they gave you a lot of time to kind of, work the mic. And that's awesome, It's cool that they just don't, as Old School was saying, kind of follow that, WWE line of more of a comedy act. Like, they were all pretty much, legit promos. And kind of the promos reminded me of, like, the old ECW back when, like, the Dudley Boys would get really in your face with the fans, or they'd kind of, give you the finger, stuff like that. I think that really builds, fun heat, gets people really involved in it, makes them feel like they're really a part of the show. I think that's definitely going to keep drawing people, to check it out, and they feel like they're a part of it.
Yeah, we try to do that, and we actually try to let everybody see everybody before the show actually starts. I actually go out and do the introductions, and I introduce the entire cast. One by one, they'll come out, give them a promo with the guy's stats, where he comes from, what we think of him backstage and everything else, like demos the Rey Mysterio of midget wrestling, Justice is 4'4", completely hardcore, Meatball's the world's biggest midget. You got Huggy Cub, who's the biggest pimp in the game, and I go out there and I cut the promo and pull these guys out, and though the crowd doesn't really get into it that much, when the guy comes back out for his match, as soon as his music hits, they know who he is immediately. Right. Instead of just going in blind like a lot of people do. They go, oh, midget wrestling. They don't know who's wrestling. They could have seen us 20 times, but we might have two new guys that they've never met. So we do it every show, and the guys do an awesome job on pumping up the crowd, and then I go backstage and I throw them the gothic makeup and the trench coat and come back out, and that's not the same guy that just introduced everybody.
Right, exactly. Totally different person. You are listening to the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour on blogtalkradio.com/doyourjob. We're live tonight with Micro Championship Wrestling's world champ, Blixx. If you have any questions, call into the show, 714-694-4101. We're going to take just a quick little break here, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll be right back here with Blixx on the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour.
Hey, you maniacs, Hulk Hogan here, the greatest of all time. But if you're looking for the greatest in midget wrestling, look no further. Micro Championship Wrestling is the greatest midget wrestling company in the world today. We've got Meatball, the biggest and the baddest of them all. We've got Demo, who I call Demomania. We've got Justice, who's one of the main on tour. We've got Blixx. We've got Huggy Cub, who's the biggest pimp in the game. And without a doubt, last but not least, we've got Enigma. So look no farther. Micro Championship Wrestling, the greatest midget wrestling in the wrestling world today. Now, what you gonna do when Micro Championship Midget Wrestling runs wild on you?
Welcome back to the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour on blogtalkradio.com/doyourjob. We are live tonight with Micro Championship Wrestling's Blixx. Blixx, man, again, great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for being our guest tonight. We certainly do appreciate that, and certainly a great interview so far, man. A couple more questions that we did want to get into here. You mentioned a lot of guys you had grown up with, who you were big fans of. You mentioned Sting, Undertaker. Were there any guys on the midget front who you kind of followed, or guys you were big fans of growing up?
Actually, there wasn't. I didn't really get into midget wrestling whatsoever. I know that WWE used to bring in some of the guys from Mexico for a match or two, and every so often, but they weren't really there. I wasn't somebody that I could watch weekly or monthly or actually get into. And all the guys like Little Tokyo and Little Beaver, I was too young to actually remember if I ever saw them to begin with. So I really didn't have anybody on the midget front whatsoever.
Gotcha. I know kind of growing up, I was a big fan of the Little Beaver character. He had worked a lot of matches with Hillbilly Jim and King Kong Bundy, and he was probably one of the more entertaining guys from the late 70s and 80s. We got some chat here in our chat room. First coming from Mickey Beck. She wanted to tell you, hey, sexy.
Yes, I talk to her quite frequently, honestly. She's one of my biggest fans now. It's great.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome. Thanks so much for listening to the show. We appreciate that. And Y2 Jibber Jabber wants to know if Trixie or Serena are single.
As far as I know, Trixie is single. Serena, I have no clue. Trixie is like a sister to me. I keep in touch with her. Serena, I'm really not that close with, so I couldn't tell you if she was single or not.
Well, we definitely get some oddball questions from our chat room, so I appreciate you being a good sport here. You mentioned that you follow, TNA and WWE. Hornswoggle right now, the only midget wrestler in WWE. What are your thoughts on his character?
I love the character, and I like some of the things that they do with him. It's just, some of it is just too far-fetched for me. I'm not going to come out there and pull out a stepladder and drop an elbow on somebody. That's pathetic. Knowing that the guy can climb to the top rope, that's more dramatic to me as far as the show goes anyway. Why don't they let him do that? Instead of treating him like a midget, why don't they start treating him like a worker? The Hornswoggle character is great. It gets over. The guy plays the character very well, but let him do some more. Let a midget actually show these people we can wrestle too.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think kind of the same thing, that they kind of almost pigeonhole him because he is a midget. Oh, he's got to do these, like we said before, kind of the comedy act. When I think it's obvious he's capable of much more. Another question I have for you is, obviously you've traveled the country with Micro Championship Wrestling. Have you gotten a chance to work internationally? Obviously wrestling's big all over the world, Japan being one. Have you gotten a chance to work over there at all?
I've not gotten a chance to work internationally whatsoever. Everything I've done has been in the States. I hadn't even gone to Canada to wrestle or Mexico, but there have been talks and negotiations about doing tours in Europe and Australia, so maybe one day we'll actually get a chance to go over there for a month or two and show them what we got.
That's cool. I just wondered because, I think especially like you said, with it, Australia, Europe, there's a lot of places, a lot of markets that I think would be into it because you guys obviously do a real great job. We have another question coming out of the chat room from Y2 Jibber Jabber, and this is a question he asks every one of our guests we've had on. This is pretty much his favorite question to ask. His question is, do you have any stories from the road, any ribs or anything like that you could share with us?
Oh, goodness. Honestly, not really. Most of the stories that I've got, it's like a brotherhood. There's an argument here and there, but other than that, there's really no ribs that are pulled on anybody. Basically, when we bring a new guy in or something during one of the little house shows where we're not actually filming it to put it on YouTube and there's not cameras around, if we actually accept the guy, we'll put him over in the main event match without his knowledge. And that's about as close as the ribs go with our stuff.
No other stories in maybe a different promotion or something where maybe they play jokes on people or kind of behind-the-scenes type stuff?
To be honest, I don't have any of those stories whatsoever. About one of the best stories that people find hilarious was my actual first show in front of a crowd. Went to an after party, and I got completely wasted. Next thing I know, I wake up in my underwear, lying on a towel, using a towel for a pillow, covered up with another towel, hugged up to a bottle of aloe.
Now that's a good story. You were holding out on us. That's a good story.
That was my very first show, too. The first time I was actually presented in front of a crowd. The after party after that, and the guy that ran the promotion actually still has that picture. He snapped a picture. It was up on his refrigerator for months.
And it's funny because when you guys were on the show Rehab, you guys all ordered like a whole bottle of liquor. Did you guys actually drink that? And did the waitress, what was her, she had mentioned you guys would either pass out or something else she said. What exactly happened after you guys drank your booze?
Well, if you watched the show, we drank the booze, we got rowdy, and then we went and tore up a hotel room. Oh, man. So we'll get one of those happy buzzes going on. A couple of us like to drink a little bit too much, myself included, and we'll get a little bit rowdy and start trying out new things on the bed, and then wake up the next morning going to Johnny, Johnny, we need to go get some more tape because I sprained my ankle. How'd you do that? Oh, moonsault off the bed. You're doing my show.
How many hotels have you guys been kicked out of?
Thankfully, none. None. Yet. Stress the word yet. There's another classic story. Usually when we're on the road, Justice is my roommate. And one night, everybody was tired and left from the bar that we worked at. Me and Justice stuck around and had a few more drinks. And we ended up having a food fight in the hallway of the hotel with a banana. Then we woke up the next morning with recollection of what went on. Justice picks up his shirt, and if you ever smear banana on a shirt and leave it sitting out overnight, it actually looks like puke when you wake up the next morning. And he's going, did I puke last night? I don't know. Walk out the door, and there's a banana peel and banana halfway down the hallway. I'm going, oh, my God, what did we do? We get to the front desk to meet up with everybody else in the lobby. We get to the front desk. The guy that was working the night shift is laughing. Like, what are you laughing about? He said, you two guys were trippy last night. I sat there and watched you on the security cameras fighting with that banana. It was hilarious. Like, if we had all and doing that, we wouldn't have just got kicked out. We'd probably end up in jail. But because we were midgets, they thought it was funny. We got lucky on that one.
These are great stories, man. You definitely have pleased Y2 Jibber Jabber. He's pretty excited in the chat room here. You've shared these tales with us here. What's your favorite drink of choice?
Well, most people in the company like taking Jaeger bombs. I take Jaeger shots straight up and chase it with Bud Light.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, the Bud Light I can be with. The Bud Light I can deal with. The Jaeger. Oof, Jaeger's bad news.
You just got to know how to handle it sometimes. You can't go out there and take 8 shots and then go, hey, it's about time to wrestle, guy. No. We maintain it. You know, me personally, I might take a shot and a beer before the show, just kind of take the edge off, because we're not like normal independent wrestling federations. We don't do one show a week. We end up doing 3 to 4, maybe even 5. We pull 2 a days multiple times. So you kind of stiffen up a little bit, and you go out there and you stretch and take a shot in a beer, and then start the show. It takes the edge off just a little bit. Don't overdo it, though. I have many times.
Let me ask you this question, because, you know, you mentioned that you guys really do like to drink. Now, this is more of a hypothetical question. I don't think there really is a right answer here, but I just kind of want you to weigh in here. Who do you think has a bigger bar tab, the wrestlers of MCW or Ric Flair?
Flair, by far. By far. Flair. Yes, I had the, I don't know if you'd say it was a privilege, but I had a chance to sit down with him for about an hour and a half, and I had 3 beers, and he had 5 glasses of wine. And, you know, they're not cheap glasses of wine. So, yeah, by far it's his bar tab. I mean,
I kind of have a follow-up to that, because you talked about how many shows you guys work a week, and you spoke before about you guys have run 100 to 200 shows a year. Is Micro Championship Wrestling, is it a full-time job for you?
Yes, the only thing that I do, I've in my teenage years held a couple of jobs for a few months at a time. I don't think I've actually worked for an entire year combined in the 3 jobs that I've had in my life outside of wrestling. Wrestling's paid my bills and kept me up, so why quit?
That's fortunate. Yeah, that's fortunate. I mean, a lot of people, and you know, they claw and scratch their way up there. So I mean, that's pretty fortunate that you're able to sustain your lifestyle that way. I mean, obviously that's the dream for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, you got to follow your dream, and if it's not working out financially, you're going to have to find something else. But if I actually held a full-time job, I would be fired when we go back out on tour, because I'm going to be gone for somewhere between 3 days to 3 months. Nobody's going to hold my position for that long.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a lot to ask for anybody.
I mean, you got to follow your dream, man. You know, I mean, and that's the thing, is to be doing this for a living, and that's it. That's almost like being in a band, and that's all you do is play music. So that's awesome, man. It's great to hear that, definitely.
Yeah, my parents told me when I was a kid to reach for the stars, and now that I'm the MCW champ, I'm content to be on top of the mountain.
Parents real supportive of you going into wrestling? I mean, I've talked to a lot of people that that was not exactly their parents' plan for them. So were they supportive of that? Of you wanting to do that?
Well, my mother was from the beginning. It took my dad a little bit of time to warm up to it, but he actually fed the fire, so to speak, fueled the fire. He looked at me as soon as I told him that I was going to join a midget wrestling company that traveled the country, and he looked at me and he said, "You'll never be anything in that business. I don't know why you're wasting your time." So I had to prove him wrong. He's probably my biggest fan. As soon as we set this up for me to be on the show tonight, I think 400 people knew in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate, Johnny Green giving us the opportunity to have you on the show tonight. It would be awesome to even have some other workers of MCW come on the show. I mean, we definitely are fans of the product, and we know there's other people out there too, obviously, who are fans of micro championship wrestling as well as other types of midget wrestling. So, big thanks to him for allowing us to have you on the show tonight, man. Definitely a great interview so far. We're going to take one last break here, then we're going to wrap up with the conclusion with Blixx. But don't go anywhere. You are listening to the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour on blogtalkradio.com/doyourjob.
What's up, Rebel Rockers? You are listening to Do Your Job Wrestling Hour. This is Ryan Howe. I'm rocking the show, and you better stay tuned, and don't call me Skid Mark.
Welcome back to the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour on blogtalkradio.com/doyourjob. We are live tonight with Micro Championship Wrestling's champ, the tiniest terror, Blixx. Blixx, man, thanks again so much for doing the show. We really do appreciate having you on. We just got a few more questions, man, before we wrap up for the night. Have you done any other interviews in the past, both either radio or like TV or something like that?
Well, I've actually done a couple of television interviews. There was a show called, I cannot even remember the name of it. It got canceled not too long after. It was the original company that G4 is now. They brought me and Meatball in to do a television interview there. I've done the Daily Buzz, which is a morning show on, I think it's on like the local channels, multiple markets. I don't get it where I'm at, so my family missed out on that one. And we try and do as many radio spots as we possibly can, but most of the time it's with the entire crew instead of just one person.
Gotcha. Another question from the chat room. Again, Y2 Jibber Jabber wants to know if you guys have any plans on coming to the Baltimore area anytime soon.
As of right now, we do not have any plans to head up that way. I know that we're heading out to Texas next week. I actually got the information right here in front of me. This Saturday, July 16th, we will be at the West Texas Black Gold Bike Rally in Odessa, Texas. And then we have plans to hopefully get back to Sturgis this year. We worked the bike rally up there the past 2 years, and hopefully we can get back up there and head back up into North Dakota and hit up a couple bars through there called Bar Bucks.
We do have a question live here tonight with us. You're live on the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour with Blixx. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Earl. It's sometimes known as Troll Dad, and you're talking to my son tonight.
Well, thank you, Earl.
And it wasn't. I just wanted to correct him. It was not 400. It was 437 on Facebook.
430. Well, thank you very much, Dad. I'm glad you actually got the promotion out.
Look, being a dad, all I can say is I'm glad you have a job and you're not calling me every week asking for rent money. Okay?
I'm proud of that too, by the way.
Awesome. I'm sure you are. Don't want to hog too much airtime here. Of course, you guys, the hosts there, I could fill up another 2 hours just telling you about him growing up. But Maybe for another show in the future, okay?
Well, since we have you on the show, you want to share at least one story with us?
One story. Okay, I'll tell you when he was in junior high, middle school. He was confronted by some very large individuals in the cafeteria. And one of his friends, I know this is true because I heard it from his friend first, and then I heard it from him hours later when I asked him about it. These guys were really putting him down because he was the littlest guy in the school. You know, he's the midget. And one of the things the friend told me was he walked up and he could hear these guys going, "Yeah, we heard your mama got you from a sperm bank." And they were going, yeah, you come from a sperm bank. You come from a sperm bank. And the guys and his friends thinking, oh, gosh, he's in trouble. So he's going over there to help him out. And before he went over and could get close enough to say or do anything, Aaron just crosses his arms, looks up at these trees. I mean, these guys were like basketball players, you know, and even in middle school, they look like they're 10 feet tall when you're 3 feet tall. And Aaron looks up, Blixx looks up and says, no, my mama did not get me from a sperm bank, but from what I hear, your mama is a sperm bank. and the guys just backed away saying, you wrong for that. And it was from that point on, I didn't worry about him. I knew he could take care of himself.
That's hilarious.
As you can see, he's taking care of himself very well these days.
That's a great story.
I love you, son. Good luck to you. Great show tonight.
Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it.
Sure thing, guys. Bye-bye.
Good night. All right. Blixx, awesome, man. Glad your dad was able to call into the show and share us that story here. We have another caller on the line. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Huggy Cub from Philly.
Hey, what's going on, man? You have a question for Blixx?
Yeah. I want to holler at my man Blixx. What's up, Blixx?
What's going on?
I'm chilling, dog. Hey, keep doing your thing, man. That's all I want to say. Keep doing your thing, dog. Hey, we're going to take over this whole thing. Watch. That's all I want to say.
That's what we plan on, right?
Taking over. That's all
Sounds
I want
like
to
a BWO, man. You guys taking over?
Oh, yeah. Taking over, leaving no names.
Awesome, man. Awesome. You have a story? You got a story? You have a story you want to share about Blixx?
Oh, man. All I got to say is this. Whenever you put me, him, and the whole crew together, the cops will be called. That's all I got to say. If you put us all together in one room in the club, the cops will be called. Either we're going to start a fight, we're going to steal somebody's girlfriend, or we're going to tear a whole bar up. That's plain and simple.
Yeah, we heard about the hotels, so I'm sure bars are probably worse.
Yeah, the bars are worse.
The bars are worse. And if we're all drunk, somebody's in trouble. If we're all drunk, somebody's in big trouble, and they will not go home the same. Trust me. So,
awesome, man. Well, thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
All right, Blake.
I'll talk to you, man.
Awesome stories about you, and very, very interesting about the bar fights and destroying the bar, and when you guys are all together. So you guys are really terrors, huh?
Yeah, but 9 times out of 10, it's some kind of fight that gets started because somebody's done took somebody's girlfriend home with them.
It's always a woman, man, and a woman always gets in the way of things, you know?
It's not my fault. I'm sorry. You can have her back tomorrow. I'll be going on to some other time. You can have her back tomorrow.
Awesome, man. Well, that's great stuff. Great stuff. Where can people follow up on you, man, and keep tabs on your career and what's next for you?
Well, if they want to keep up with MCW, they can look us up on Facebook, Micro Championship Wrestling, and go check out our website, which is www.mcwusa.us. Every single one of us is on the MCW Facebook page, so you can find links to our personal Facebook pages from there, and the one that you'll find on there I've actually turned into my fan site, so if you send a friend request, it's probably going to get accepted.
Awesome. Always good stuff. Would you mind doing a drop tonight for the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour?
Not at all. This is Blixx, the MCW champion, and you are listening to the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour on Blog Talk Radio.
Awesome, Blixx. Thanks so much for being our guest tonight. We really do appreciate it. And like I said before, man, if it's cool with Johnny, we'd love to have some other guys from MCW, come on the show, talk about their careers as well, and maybe share some more stories. As you have some good ones, man. I'm glad you decided to share some of those with us. Great time, man. Thanks so much for being our guest tonight.
Well, thanks so much for having us, and you know how to get in touch with Johnny, and I'm pretty sure every single one of the guys would actually like to be on the show one time.
Awesome.
That'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man. You enjoy your night, and good luck defending your MCW title.
I appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right, good night.
Have a good one, man. Thanks for taking the time.
All right, that was Blixx of Micro Championship Wrestling on the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour. Great show tonight, Old School, man. We always bring on guests who have got some great stories, and awesome, man. I gotta say, it was definitely a great show.
It really was. It's good to have a nice diverse mix of people. Sometimes we'll have, a former WCW or WWE talent. Sometimes we get, whiff and female wrestlers lined up. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too early, but we like to have a nice diverse guest list. And I think tonight was great. Got some great stories, and
Definitely check out Micro Championship Wrestling. You could Google them on and check them out on Facebook as well. Certainly worth following, and also keep a close eye on True TV. You could check their website periodically as well, as hopefully soon they'll be on TV and you can actually watch it, which will be awesome as well. Old School kind of hinted a little bit here at having a female wrestler on the show. We're actually going to be dedicating the month of August to female workers in the business. At this point in time, we haven't had any women wrestlers on the show, so, it has not been intentional by any means at all, just the way the booking has gone, but really putting a lot more focus and emphasis on women in wrestling for the month of August. So we already have our first guest announced for August 7th. You may remember her in the original ECW known as the Prodigyette. That will be Angel Orsini. She's got a wealth of experience. She's done MMA. She's done powerlifting. She's done wrestling. So she's going to be an awesome guest to have on the show. That's going to be our first show in August, August 7th. So you definitely don't want to miss that show. We will be back, though, next week, which is the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. And that should also be an awesome show. I'm not going to reveal who the guest is yet, but we are working on booking a champion on the show, another world champion. Old School, man, we always try to book the people who are the champs. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I mean, the champs are here, as it was.
Yeah, Guy, the champs are definitely on the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour. And also, did want to add real quickly here that the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour has officially printed T-shirts. You heard right. We have T-shirts with the Do Your Job Wrestling Hour logo on the front, and on the back is our website, which also includes the tagline, Sundays will never be the same again. And we got them in black and white. If you are interested in a T-shirt, definitely go to supporting the show, and we always would appreciate anything our fans do for us here. But, I did want to let everybody know we do have T-shirts available there, so shoot us a message on Facebook or tweet us on Twitter. If you're interested in getting a shirt, we'll go over the cost of it. As it can vary depending on what size you do prefer. But that's about it for tonight. So thanks so much for Blixx for coming on the show. Old School, man, always a pleasure doing the show with you, man. And I know you had something really quick you wanted to add, but we're almost out of time here, so we're not going to be able to get to the pay-per-view stuff tonight. But if you want to know about the pay-per-view, I mean, I guess you can check it out. I guess you can check it out online, I guess, you know. But for Old School Avis Hathaway and the ConKaiserdor, we will say goodnight, and we'll see you next week with our special guest, who is a world champion. Good night, everybody.